Every Friday, we give you a chance to blow off a little steam, to say out loud through my mouth what you might not say out loud through yours. It's presented by our friends at Local Environmental Services. It's a tradition we call Trash Talk! All right, so if you're not a hockey fan, maybe you don't know the whole background, but last year, Matthewchuk scored over 100 points for the Calgary Flames. He then let them know that within a year he didn't plan on re-signing with the team, so they traded him to the Florida Panthers. Pretty good trade for the Flames, if you ask me. Well, the NHL teams are back in training camp now, and reporters asked Daryl Sutter, the head coach of the Flames, how Matthewchuk's replacement at right wing on one of their top lines, Tyler Toffoli, who played with Daryl Sutter in Los Angeles for the Kings, how the two stack up. In other words, how are the Flames going to do replacing Matthewchuk on that line with Tyler Toffoli? And here's what Coach Sutter had to say.
Well, as far as their skill sets, any comparisons between Tkachuk and Toffoli?
One guy's won Stanley Cups, been a big part of long playoff runs.
Of course, I don't have to tell you what happened to the Calgary Flames playoff run when they ran into the Edmonton Oilers last year. I love that trash talk from Daryl Sutter. All right, we got one from Peter here, who heard UCP leadership hopeful Travis Taves on the show this week, formerly the finance minister. Earmuffs, kids. Peter says, hey, Travis, how the fuck can you challenge Real Talkers to make a decision for leader of the UCP vis-a-vis Alberta's premier by watching how they've led and then minutes later say, I'm going to work with Albertans on the pension file? Here's an angry Alberta teacher who watched my pension get stolen saying, take your leadership bid and your hollow words and stuff them! All right. Now this one from Ronnie. Ronnie says, Jespo and crew, I like to think I'm a progressive, and you will never hear me both sidesing an issue. I let my positions be known clearly, and I take a strong stance. Thinking strategically, however, you're never going to change hearts or minds by belittling those in the so-called mushy middle of the political spectrum and those who are vehemently on the fence. And you can be radical without being inflammatory. And that's why I take issue with one of your guests on the unofficial opposition. Ronnie, who could you possibly mean? How about this one from Ryan, who says, hey, Jespo, listening to you read that email about the mushy middle, a little bit of a fire under my ass, reminding me that those of us in the middle need to take the time to write those emails, to send those tweets, to be involved in the discourse. If we don't, we will continue to have our voices drowned out by those on the extreme poles of the political spectrum. Ryan says, I see troubled waters in our future, especially because we seem to be content to let those at the extremes be the only people that have a say in how our country and province are run. So this is me committing to make the time to be a more engaged real talker and a more engaged citizen. I hope there are many more inspired to do this. Maybe we can course correct away from where I believe we are headed. Signing off from the mushy middle, it's Ryan. And how about this one? Appreciate this one from Marty, who says, Jespo, when you're reading emails, it might be good to announce that there is some editorializing on the RJ team's part before reading it. This is when other people say things like emails are edited for brevity. They are, because some of you are so engaged, so intelligent, so motivated, so verbose, that you send us these big, long emails that would take the entire show to read, so we got to cut them down a little bit. He says, on to Catalina's email. They talk about the mushy middle and not having a home. There is a home, right? The political party that they most identify with is called the Liberal Party, an excruciatingly centrist, bouncing between being right of center and left of center kind of party. There is no far left in this province or in this country. If they think that there is, they've fallen prey to conservative party messaging of trying to control the Overton window. The closest thing to far left in this country, maybe described as those blocking forestry or oil and gas projects. How many people are there, like in the whole country? 10,000 of them? I don't know. They're certainly not driving political parties or having any impact on policy to any degree. Nothing anything that pushes past natural growth with times around them. All this talk about the mushy middle, being a centrist, about their own centrism. Yeah, people have positions. They just don't like to expose them. But there's nothing wrong with that. You can have a position and go no further than saying and keep a topic going like, I like pineapple on pizza, but you don't have to expand on your reasoning. Centrism is, by its very nature, all about the status quo. There is very rarely any true both sides. The world doesn't work on a scale with two choices being equal in weight. You know, your author also talks about disliking being put in a box. Well, that is what identifying as a centrist is. You are putting yourself in that box. It is the personal and political identity of it all, okay? Maybe, just maybe, you need to reevaluate your desire to be seen and identify as a centrist and wanting to feel neutral. Your desire to identify so strongly with an identity is actually blinding you from your own growth. Political parties change. It's up to the public not to be stuck in the past with how we see them. In closing, Catalina, I think you can, if you look really hard, find a political home in a space. It sounds like you're so stuck in the idea of being truly a centrist that you don't want to take the introspective step of self-realization. I hope you can, because if the pushback you face that you're afraid of receiving, it may have a little bit to do with the fact that clearly you have sides you just don't want to admit. All you want to do is stay safe. All right. Thanks for that. Back, forth. It's been pretty rare that a Real Talker's email has prompted a week's worth of discussion. So even though we still have a week to go before the end of September, this is my official announcement. Catalina, the first ever to be early awarded the Real Talk email of the month. We're going to be in touch with you. We're going to send you one of these Real Talk studio mugs on our dime. Thanks for getting us going, whether we agree with you or not. Trash Talk is presented by our friends at Local Environmental Services. Keep it local. Get a quote today at localenvironmental.ca.